Good evening, everyone. My name's Jenny Russell, and I am the Director of Education and Learning here at the RIBA, and I am absolutely delighted to welcome you all to the 2020 President's Medals, our annual celebration of talent and innovation in architectural education. Now, I am fairly new in my role, and this is my first ever President's Medals ceremony, so what better way to start it than right up at the front. I was a dissertation medal nominee a number of years ago, but to this day, I hugely value that nomination. And it's a testament to the value of and the respect given to the President's Medals. Owing to the public health guidelines put in place worldwide to deal with the COVID-19 pandemic in March 2020, we've not been able to host a President's Medals ceremony for the last 2 years. But tonight, we will make up for that time with renewed strength and commitment to architectural education by celebrating achievements by students and tutors, not just this year, but also in 2021 and 2020. We'll start tonight's celebrations by presenting the Spink Award for Excellence in Architectural Education. Presented biennially to a tutor who has made an outstanding contribution to architectural education, the Spink Award has justly garnered a global reputation as the most coveted prize that a tutor of architecture can receive. The 2020 and 2022 winners of the award celebrated tonight are fine examples of academic excellence that the RIBA is proud to honour. This will be followed by our annual celebration of student work, the RIBA President's Medals, awarded across 3 categories: the Dissertation Medal for the best written work submitted at RIBA Part 1 or 2 or equivalent, the Bronze Medal for the best design project produced during RIBA Part 1, or normally the first 3 of 5 years of study, and the Silver Medal for the best design project produced at RIBA Part 2, or normally the last 2 years of study. In addition, we'll present the winners of the Sargent Awards for Excellence in Architectural Drawing, and also the RIBA Awards for Sustainable Design. In this first part of the ceremony, we'll present first the medals to the winners of last year's awards, who have patiently waited for the last year to get their prizes before we move on to announcing this year's winners. But now, please join me welcoming to the stage your host for this evening, President of the RIBA, Simon Alford.
Thank you, Jenny. Welcome, everyone. It's wonderful to get everyone together in a real room, in a real place, and the conversation no doubt will flow. So it's great that you've all actually come here, and I'm extremely pleased to welcome so many talented individual architects, the tutors who've helped guide those architects through their education, helping you as students of the future of architecture, in a sense, to fulfill your potential, to establish what architecture needs to become if you're to help lead the profession into the future to address the really huge challenges we all face in rethinking, not necessarily rebuilding, but rethinking and redesigning the built environment. I couldn't be more delighted to stand here. I think it's a really great celebration of what you've done, what you're about, the challenges that you'll address in the future. So it's great to be here as a president. It's the first time I've ever worn this medal, probably the last time as well. But as a fellow architect, a tutor, I'm a former nominee. We got nowhere in these medals, but we were submitted, which was nice. But it's not really about awards. It's about ideas and celebrating, the kind of collective collaboration, the discussion that you've been part of. As I revisited the winning work produced by yourselves, I was struck by the investigation, the rigour, and also the hard work, the inquiry, the thinking, the narrative, and then capturing it and explaining it in images and words and ideas that communicated that narrative to a wider world. And that role of communicating is absolutely vital. That level of inquiry that you've all demonstrated is going to be increasingly important if the profession is going to put itself at the heart of this kind of collaborative process we all need to engage in, which is designing a low-carbon future. And let's make no mistake, it's a very, very big challenge. I was talking to Smith Mordak, who's just come back from Egypt, and there's a lot of talk, and there's a lot of speculation, and there's a lot of people doing really good work. But to really make a difference and help change things, we can do a lot in the built environment, because the built environment is a big generator of problems in the carbon world. It's also a big, it has a big opportunity, therefore, to make a difference. But it's a collaborative process. We're the RIBA, we're celebrating you and your work, but you will only succeed in achieving your ambitions, and your ambitions, as shown by the work, are great if you can help work with others, not just in the other professions, but in the wider world, engaging with government, but also engaging on the micro scale with individuals and with communities. The quality and diversity of the projects we'll see tonight suggests that the future is, of course, as it always has been, in good hands. The future is always looking better than the past, I like to think. I'm an architect, therefore I'm an optimist. But clearly you're capable of imagining and challenging a way of thinking about the world that is different. And it is a very, very big challenge. But as Charles Eames said, without problems, there's no design. And the problems are significant, but there's a sense of optimism in what I've seen in the work. And you also, as individuals, brought your own personal experiences of the world, of your world, of the world you've been brought up with, but also looking at other worlds around you. And you can see that kind of experience being developed and then ground into architectural proposals, which is the kind of art of architecture, to kind of look, to engage, to listen, but then take all those different threads you're exposed to and then pull them together into a proposition that should bring some joy and some delight, as well as some serious endeavour. And whether that's a project in the traditional architectural sense or in investigative writing in a dissertation, it is the same idea to me of inquiry, consideration, reflection, and then coming back with something that allows the debate to move on. Clearly, tutors and schools and the kind of cohort you're working with have been important to all of you. And it suggests kind of what the profession might be in, 10 years is quite different to what it might be now. And that is always the role of the next generation, to establish what an architect might be thinking and doing, and what are the problems they might be facing in the future. So, I remain optimistic, especially when I've seen what you've been looking at. This engaging with the kind of political and social context you're facing is going to be a huge challenge, but again, the work suggests that people are wanting to take that on. And technology that straddles timelines, and not an obsession with technology. I think it was Cedric Price who said technology is the answer, but what was the question? I think it's all about thinking about how we can harness technology to allow people to enjoy the theatre of everyday life ever more, how the built environment can support individuals and communities as they kind of build a better future for themselves and their families and their world. The concern with climate emergency is deeply embedded in the design process, but there's also the thing about identity, about the individual, about the collective, and how that might also affect technologies. We can't obsess with carbon. It is absolutely crucial, but we need to think about carbon. And any project, however intelligent it is in carbon, if it's not bringing some joy to those who engage with it, it will be failing in carbon terms as well as in social terms. It's interesting now that, that the recent history of architecture, which has been about newness, is not forgotten, but it's certainly kind of being replaced by a lot of projects that look at reuse, at conserving, at reworking buildings. I mean, it's only the post-Second World War world where we've kind of started again, the brave new world, and for good reason. They were rebuilding a world shattered by a global war and mass migration. But, we're returning to an idea about, actually, how do you work with the resources that are around you? And those resources include the built environment as it is, rather than clearing it away, rather than tabula rasa, kind of adjusting and reworking it and finding the strength in it. Alex Gordon, a president 50 years ago, said, he who talked of long life, loose fit and low energy very presciently 50 years ago, but he also called for less ad hoc originality, more climbing on the shoulders of others. And that's, in a sense, what history of architecture is about. The study of the history of architecture is a discipline in its own right, but it's also a kind of vehicle for you to look at and learn from the past so you can kind of accelerate your processes into the future to do things better. And the profession, of course, can learn from looking at how you're looking at things in a different way, because you will form the future of the profession. On that basis, these awards, I think, are very important because they're very international, they're very broad, they're very diverse, and they're very open. Indeed, this year we received the highest ever number of entries in the 186 years of the medals. So 350 entries from 100 schools of architecture located in 27 countries. They were arrived here at the RIBA, or the virtual RIBA. They were processed. 3 independent panels of judges to assess the work. And considering the number of entries each school can submit remains the same, 2 for bronze, 2 for silver, and 1 for dissertation. And in 2002, these awards received only 179 entries. This kind of opening up represents something that I think is really important. I mean, when I was Vice President for Education, a long time ago, when Jean-Paul was there, and we talked about opening it up, the kind of awards, as we've now got digitized and captured, represent an extraordinary story of ongoing inquiry. So, when I talk about look at your work, you can also look at the work of the last 20 years of students from around the world and see how the preoccupations have evolved and differed. And that in itself tells us something. You can use that as a database to build a better idea of how we might think in the future. Of course, to process this requires a lot of work. So I'd like to thank the chairs and judges of the bronze medal, of the silver medal and the dissertation medal, not just for their time, but for their consideration and their reflection, and not just for this year, but those judges from 2021 and 2020, who bring real intelligence, wit, generosity in their consideration. I'd like to thank all of those in the Education and Learning Department here at the RIBA who've involved in delivering this celebration of your work, particularly our Head of Education Projects, Jean-Paul Nunes, who I've worked with, and many here have worked with over many years, but he's worked tirelessly to raise that international profile and to try and open this up to an ever wider diaspora of architectural students. I hope you enjoyed tonight's celebration of the Institute's rich history of supporting your talent, of innovation, but as well as learning in architectural education. It's only by doing so we can remain optimistic and look forward to the future of architecture with the renewed confidence deserved by the individuals and communities for whom we design. I look forward to meeting you all later on, and thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Simon. We now move to the announcement of our first award of the night, the RIBA Annie Spink Award for Excellence in Architectural Education. To present this award, together with the RIBA President, I'd like to invite to the stage RIBA Council Member and Board Trustee, the Chair of the 2022 Annie Spink Award Judging Panel, Samita Singha. In 1974, the RIBA established the Annie Spink Trust Fund after a bequest by architect Herbert Spink in memory of his late wife, Annie, and conceived as an honour for the advancement of architectural education. Since it was first awarded in the year 2000, this biennial award has recognised the outstanding contribution to architectural education made by an individual in a school of architecture anywhere in the world that offers RIBA-validated courses. The award has attracted an impressive list of nominees whose careers have made them all deserving of this prize. 2020 was no exception, with many outstanding candidates assessed by a panel chaired by RIBA Council member and board trustee Nikki Watson, and comprising Asterios Agkathidis, Neil McLaughlin, Martina Murphy, Naomi Rubra, and Alex Wright. The judges discussed all nominees in detail and agreed unanimously that the 2020 RIBA Annie Spink Award would go to Professor Leslie Loco. Trained at the Bartlett School of Architecture and with a PhD in architecture from the University of London, where her knowledge base and capability as an educator was built, Loco's academic career was initially honed at Kingston University, the University of East London, London Metropolitan University, the University of Greenwich, the Bartlett School of Architecture, and later at the University of Westminster. These experiences were followed by a number of visiting professorships in North American and African higher education institutions. In 2004, she made the successful transition from academic to novelist with the publication of her first novel, Sundowners, and has since followed with 12 further bestsellers, which have been translated into 15 languages. And there's much more. Throughout her career, Loco has established a durable and international legacy in terms of her voice and the courses to which she has contributed, most notably between 2014 and 2019 as the founder and director of the Graduate School of Architecture of the University of Johannesburg, a school which, in its independence and ambition, has transformed not just the context, but the narrative of architectural education in South Africa and the continental region. She has pioneered and cultivated critical debate about identity in architecture, and in so doing, she allows our discipline to be enriched by many new voices, traditions, and dreams, enabling students and educators to find their place in architecture on their own terms, galvanizing others in the field to address a more pluralistic, inclusive, and open culture of education. The innovation and passion in her teaching is matched by an unfaltering commitment to ensuring that architectural education and research run in parallel with the contemporary anthropological, artistic, technological, and literary public debates. In tandem with this approach, she questions, defines, and enhances the role the architect plays in shaping contemporary global and local communities. This professional stance has become increasingly more evident as her current venture, the African Futures Institute in Accra, Ghana, develops its own confident identity, confirming that we are to expect many forms of achievement and of well-deserved recognition in her future career steps. Please join me in celebrating the winner of the 2020 RIBA Annie Spink Award for Excellence in Architectural Education, Professor Leslie Loco.
Thank you, everyone. I should say that picture is about 20 years old. This is a very, very special evening for me. I last won an award at the age of 10, where I won a thermos flask for my handwriting. And it has been worth the wait. There are lots of people to thank. The trio who put me forward for the Annie Spink in the first place, Matthew Barak, Andrew Clancy and Zoe Berman, and thank you to every single person who wrote in support of the nomination. I have to say that the nomination came at a particularly low point in my architectural career, or my academic career, having left two institutions within 8 months of each other. And at a deeply personal as well as professional level, the award was both life-affirming and life-giving. People who grow up in happy families often mention how lucky they feel, and I feel the same way about my architectural education or my architectural childhood. It was Jonathan Hill who taught me that building knowledge is an architectural endeavour, and I'm immensely proud of the knowledge that a whole community of thinkers, makers, students, practitioners have built over the past 20, 30 years, which is no longer marginal or peripheral to architectural education, but central. It has been such a privilege and an honour to bear witness to the sea change and to take part. Thank you.
Congratulations, Leslie. Following its biennial application cycle, the 2022 Annie Spink Award welcomed another impressive number of high-profile nominations. The panel tasked with making their decision was chaired by RIBA Council member and board trustee Sumita Singha, and included Richard Adetunkumbo Aina, winner of the 2021 RIBA Dissertation Medal, Murray Fraser, Professor of Architecture and Global Culture at the Bartlett School of Architecture and winner of the 2018 Annie Spink Award, Magdalena Kocin-Wozniak, Dean of the Faculty of Architecture of the Krakow University of Technology in Poland, Jane Pavitt, Head of Research and Learning at the Zaha Hadid Foundation, Toby Hsu, Senior Lecturer at Oxford Brookes University, and Ola Uduku, Head of the School of Architecture at the University of Liverpool. And after careful deliberation of the nominations, the judges agreed to award the 2020 Annie Spink Award to Professor Kester Rattenbury. Kester Rattenbury trained as an architect at the Oxford Polytechnic, followed by a PhD on the way architecture is covered in the UK national press, still the only original study of its kind. This was published in her 2002 book, This Is Not Architecture, exploring architecture's relationship with the media in which it's made and discussed. The book, still in print 20 years on, is regarded by many fellow academics, students and practitioners as essential reading. She has a body of over 700 publications, built from the Building Design News Desk and regular Tuesday overnight RIBA lecture reviews, through building studies and interviews, articles in national and international newspapers, to books, contributions to books and research aimed at a range of audiences, from the academic and professional to the popular. Cumulatively, these form a lifelong study of the original ways that architects work, extending to a surprising reappraisal of the writer Thomas Hardy in her acclaimed book, The Wessex Project. She started teaching design at the University of Greenwich in 1992 and moved to the University of Westminster in the year 2000, where she went on to set up the research group Experimental Practice in 2003. This included the AHRC-funded Archigram archival project, an innovative digital-only project which opened the works of Archigram to new audiences, and the Supercrit series, with Samantha Hardingham, where major architects come back to school to be critted by an expert and student audience. In 2005, she was made a Fellow of the RIBA. She was made Professor at Westminster in 2014, and, through former Head of School Kate Heron, became closely involved with the Royal Melbourne Institute of Technology's PhD by Practice, where architects uncover, test, and develop the tacit creative methods in their work. She integrates this critical exploration of design thinking throughout her work, arguing that our unusual teaching and working methods have evolved precisely to allow us to design for change and the unknown future. Please join me in congratulating the winner of the 2022 RIBA Annie Spink Award for Excellence in Architectural Education, Professor Kester Rattenbury.
Thank you. I feel very lucky to be here, apart from the bit where I had to come after Leslie, follow Leslie. That's quite a challenge. But I'm lucky to be here. And I think any one of us who land up here are really representing hundreds of other people who work in this amazing collaborative system of architectural education, which is under huge pressure at the moment, under challenge from all directions. But I think it's really amazing, and over the years I've kind of come to realise that all the strange things that we do have really evolved, particularly to allow us to design for change, and as Simon says, that's what we need to do now. So we need to kind of really value and use those systems like never before, I think. So thank you very much. We were told we had 2 minutes to thank everybody, which I have to say is absolutely impossible, because as you all know, we don't do any of this by ourselves. It's an entirely collaborative endeavour. So anyway, I'll have to start. So thank you to the hundreds and hundreds of students, because it's their creativity, skills, sheer hard work that we all work with and learn from all the time. We teach in pairs, which is one of the many systems that we don't really explain, but is a fantastic system to design us all to keep moving and responding and so on. I've learned from everybody I've taught with, including most recently Camilla Wilkinson at Westminster, most furthest away Sam Jacob at Greenwich, and all the time, longest of all, of course, Sean Griffiths, who I've taught with, argued with, and learnt from for almost 30 years on and off, and somehow survived, but it's been a fantastic education. Thank you, Sean. We teach in studios, so we're also teaching alongside all kinds of other wonderful teachers and their students, and we're all learning from those things, those other people. That wider culture is enabled by the people who take on the incredibly onerous jobs of being head of school. So thank you to Harry Charrington, for especially for the amazing job in revitalising the studios and all the fabrication resources at Westminster. It's an incredibly important part of the culture. And also for a previous generation of us at Westminster, Kate Heron really established an amazing creative culture, which all the major projects I did really grew from that period, so thank you to her. We then work in teams on all these projects. Too many people to mention, but I have to mention again Samantha Hardingham for the EXP, work on building up EXP, and the Supercrit series, which yet again is another much criticised model, the crits, but they do. I think the Supercrits shows the way in which they are the most fantastic knowledge exchange. So I think that is a really amazing thing. And also on the other really key project for me, Claire Hammond, who was project manager on the Archigram archival project, utterly heroic work on enabling all kinds of academic endeavours for lots of people. Thank you. It's weird to have a singular award, really, with all of this work, because none of us do any of this by ourselves. And in fact, even getting nominated for the Annie Spink Award it involves getting at least 16 people to write letters for you. So thank you to all those people who took time out of their holidays and evenings and weekends and times when they should have been looking after their children, because that's how we all work, right? It's a very generous culture. Particular thanks to Giles Smith and Eddie Blake, I don't know if they're here, but who did a lot of the legwork in putting this together. Thank you so much. Yeah, so it's a fantastically generous network. It's largely invisible. A huge amount of it is done by people who are not being paid or doing more than they're paid for. It's run by fantastic creative individuals who are all working really, really hard to try and change things and to make a better world. So I'm very proud to be part of it. Thank you so much.
Congratulations, Kester. We now move to the presentation of the 2021 President's Medals. To present these awards together with Simon, I'd like to invite to the stage the chair of the 2021 and 2022 Bronze and Silver Medal panels, Tracy Mellor. We'll start by announcing the winner of the RIBA Dissertation Medal. The 2021 Dissertation Medal judging panel was chaired in absentia by Professor Leslie Loco, founder and director of the African Futures Institute in Accra, with John Paul Nunes, head of education projects here at the RIBA, as the ex officio non-voting chair, and included Emmanuel Admasu, assistant professor at the Graduate School of Architecture, Planning and Preservation at Columbia University, Hugh Campbell, Professor of Architecture and Head of Subject for Architecture in the School of Architecture, Planning and Environmental Policy at University College Dublin, and Emma Cheetle, Senior Lecturer of Architecture at the University of Sheffield. These judges read dozens of dissertations over the summer of 2021 and met via conference call to select the winner of the Dissertation Medal. After discussing the entries in detail, the judges agreed to award the 2021 Dissertation Medal to A Culture of Craft, West Africa Unobjectified. Nominated by the Architectural Association, where the author was tutored by Mark Campbell and Manolis Stavrakakis, A Culture of Craft is concerned with the production, consumption, appropriation, and reassimilation of the contested cultural objects of West Africa. It explores how and why West African objects of particular tribes were crafted within their respective contexts and infrastructures, and how these sacred objects have been removed and disassociated. The Lobi peoples were selected as the thesis case study for their inherent craft and artistry and disenfranchised artifacts. The judges agreed that the dissertation provided a mature and nuanced reading and argument around a highly pertinent topic. In particular, they felt that the research and the intellectual acuity was exceptionally strong. The author and winner of the 2021 Dissertation Medal is Richard Adetokunbo Aina.
Apparently I have 30 seconds, so I'll be quick. But thank everyone for having me this evening. I want to firstly thank the RIBA for choosing to recognize quite a nuanced subject matter, of which I feel is very topical nowadays. and I hope I can begin to contribute to this within a wider and tangible context. I want to also thank the Architectural Association for being the place from which that filled me with the confidence. It's a brilliant institution that gave me the tools by which I could actually excel, which I haven't been able to in the past, sometimes in education. Within that, I want to thank the various staff for being crucial towards me achieving my various goals as a student there, namely Mark Campbell, Alvaro Velasco Perez, Jack Self, Nana Biamo Fusu, Guillermo Ibanez, my ETS tutors as well. The list is extremely long, so I still have 30 seconds, so I'll be quick. But in addition to that, I also want to thank my family, my mother, my father, my brother, also my girlfriend who's sitting there waving vigorously. But yeah, thank you everyone.
Congratulations. Congratulations to our first medalist. Last year, the bronze medal panel tasked with assessing design projects produced at RIBA Part 1 or equivalent was chaired by Tracy Miller, senior partner at RSHP, and included Ben Cowd, co-founding partner of Sarah Ben's Studio and subject head of postgraduate architecture at the Leicester School of Architecture at De Montfort University, Angela Dapper, principal architect at Grimshaw Architects and RIBA London Council member, David Howarth, co-founder of DRDH Architects, Rosanna Hu, founding partner at Interdisciplinary Architectural Design and Research Office, Neri and Hu in China, and David Ogunmuyiwa, founder and partner at Architecture Doing Place. The judges awarded the 2021 bronze medal to the project Seeding Swanscombe Marshes. The author proposes the construction of an ecological courthouse at the site of a planned theme park, acting as a preventative method for its further development. The building moves through varying stages of occupancy in line with its construction. The foundations are laid to form a bed for protest. Enclosure begins to take place and the court comes to life. Ultimately, the second life of the building during its degradation provides a legacy in its ambition to cultivate novel ecologies and habitats. Simultaneously, the project also looks at the regeneration of salt marshes in the area and the eventual degradation of the building through its natural materials, which will have ecological benefits to the landscape. Submitted by the Bartlett School of Architecture, the project was tutored by Chi-Kit Lee and Douglas Miller, and its author is Ben Folks.
Okay, just want to say thank you to the RIBA for this prestigious award. I know it's no small feat, and also congratulations as well to everyone else who picked up an award tonight. I just want to say a massive thank you to my incredible tutors, Chi-Kit and Doug, who, if anyone knows them, knows that they kind of strike a good balance, I think, between a nurturing education and, let's just say, a sort of light-hearted attitude. I want to say a big thank you as well to my family, who've been a sort of endless source of support and inspiration as well. And a big thank you as well to Marie, who has been with me for these 4 years and probably deserves a medal of her own just for that. Thanks.
Congratulations, Ben. The 2021 RIBA Silver Medal for Best Design Project, submitted at Part 2, was judged by a panel also chaired by Tracy Miller and included Simon Alford, co-founder and director of AHMM and RIBA president, Harry Charrington, head of the School of Architecture and Cities at the University of Westminster, Ed Frith, Part 2 course leader at the Arts University Bournemouth, Lena Gottme, founder and principal architect at Lena Gottme Architecture in Paris, and Mina Hassman, sustainability director at SOM and RIBA council member. The judging panel awarded the 2021 Silver Medal to the Cloud Cooperative. An entry nominated by the University of Strathclyde, where it was supervised by Lizzie Smith and Ewan Imrie. The Cloud Cooperative looks at the rise in data collection, internet surveillance and infrastructure, and storage on the cloud, which has caused people to lose control of their data. The project seeks to challenge the current data monopoly and to explore what it would mean to give people power over their own data. Envisioned through the actions of a future activist movement called the Cloud Cooperative, the project explores the phased decentralisation of data infrastructure and the creation of a secure, ethical new internet. The author and winner of the 2021 RIBA Silver Medal for the Best Design Project produced at RIBA Part 2 worldwide is Tia Partanen.
Thank you. I'm very honored to receive the 2021 Silver Medal, and I'd like to sincerely thank the RIBA for this recognition. Receiving the Silver Medal last year was by far the highlight of my design education, and I'm humbled to have been chosen from such a talented group of nominees. I'm very grateful to the RIBA for providing students with this opportunity and platform to showcase their hard work and to amplify their global messages. I would also like to thank the University of Strathclyde and everyone in the architecture department for a wonderful 6 years and an inspiring and positive learning environment. I'd especially like to thank my two wonderful tutors, Ewan Imrie and Lizzie Smith, for guiding me through my final master's year in the middle of a pandemic. Even through a laptop screen, their advice and encouragement managed to keep my project on track. Finally, I'd like to thank my family and friends back home in Finland and my partner and friends here in the UK as well for their continued support and sage advice. Looking forward to hearing from the medal winners this year, and I hope you all enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you very much.
Congratulations to all of our 2021 medalists. And now on to the winners of the 2022 President's Medals. We'll start by awarding the Dissertation Medal. The judging panel met in person for the first time in 3 years to discuss the dissertations they read over the summer. It was chaired by Professor Leslie Loco and included Thomas Aquilina, London-based architect and academic, Kakuwa Manful, PhD candidate at SOAS University of London, Samir Pandya, assistant head of the School of Architecture and Cities at the University of Westminster, Tanya Poppelreuter, lecturer in the History and Theory of Architecture and Director of Postgraduate Research Studies at the University of Salford, and Huda Tayob, lecturer in Architectural Studies at the University of Manchester. Because the judging panel was the only one that reverted to meeting in person post-COVID, we took the opportunity to capture their thoughts and decisions on film.
Dissertation medal is a particularly important medal, and it's partly because it's really about the building of ideas and the building of knowledge, so it's architectural, but it uses a different material. And I think this year what was really interesting is that students are trying to grapple with contemporary issues, so lots of essays around the question of diaspora, lots of essays around material, about activism, around social unrest, social ills. So you can really see that students are grappling with contemporary issues as if it were material.
In particular, the dissertation medal enables young students to think about the power not just of image, but also of text, and in particular the relationship that exists between the two of them. Where the students are strongest is where they think about the personal history or their personal biography. And so it's grounded in their own perspective. They themselves might take a leap of faith to articulate their own ideas and their own visions. And I think in a way that could become a sort of manifesto for their own forms of practice.
Me, what history and theory does, and the space of the dissertation, is it gives students a moment to take a step back from having to act immediately as they would have to do in a design studio, and it gives them a moment to pause and think about what they're doing and think about the bigger questions and the bigger implications.
What the dissertations have done so well is to tell us and show us clearly kind of permanent effects of seemingly transient or short-term things, and showing us how materially some of these seemingly abstract ideas and things are embodied, and how they, as architecture students, are able to investigate using different creative combinations of methods to translate these into architectural language.
Much more importantly, is just how intelligent students were about demonstrating the complicity of architecture within personal experience, but going beyond that to show how architecture can act as a mediator between personal experience and an understanding of wider social structures.
I found quite fascinating as well. There are certain themes that came through, that there were several dissertations looking into immigration, migration, which is of course a theme that we are interested in at the moment, and that is very, very problematically discussed at the same time. Psychogeography was discussed from several perspectives as well, which is very interesting because this is the way we explore and understand cities. So that I found quite fascinating as well, how different people use this theoretical framework creatively for their theses.
You get the sense that students are also trying to write themselves into the canon. They're really trying to take issues that are relevant to them. First and foremost, of course, it's a personal issue, whether it's to do with immigration, whether it's to do with race, with gender, all the kind of contemporary issues that we know about. But they're also really self-consciously trying to figure out ways to talk about them, ways to write, to photograph, to combine text and image. So that's the kind of inventiveness about how one makes the canon that probably 20, 30 years ago you wouldn't have seen. And there's a kind of confidence in the youth that's inspiring. It's optimistic, which is great.
To present the awards in this category together with Simon, I'd like to invite to the stage one of the panel's judges, Samir Pandya. In addition to the medal, the judges commended 3 other entries. The first of these has the title Mapping Migrant Trajectories, a study of South Asians in diaspora through the Bradford High Street. The dissertation illustrates the role architecture plays in supporting the unfolding of migrant journeys. Using the archived portraits from the B. Sandford Taylor Photography Studio in Bradford, the author examines how the studio became a central infrastructure for the articulation of modes of belonging and displaced identities. The analysis of the photographic material combined with oral testimonies and workshops allowed the author to make visible the materiality that surrounds migrant journeys. providing an original contribution to our understanding of how local architectures produce collective memories, complex identities, and heritage. The dissertation was submitted by the Manchester School of Architecture, where it was supervised by Huda Tayob, Leandro Mnuchin, and Helen Eibel. Its author and the winner of the first 2022 commendation is Mohsin Ali. Unfortunately, Mohsin is unwell and not able to join us, so we'll accept the award on his behalf and wish him a very speedy recovery. The second commendation in this category was submitted by the Architectural Association with the title, "The Art of Getting By, From Domestic Abuse to Social Housing." This dissertation proposes and develops a methodology of practice in which architecture actively supports the lives of victims of domestic abuse. The research methodology has three main strands: extensive interviews with survivors of domestic abuse, the history of the framing and definition of domestic abuse in Acts of Parliament, and the unexpected role of architecture as a weapon of violence in domestic abuse. Based upon the foundations of the research, the dissertation proposes a cyclical engagement between legislation, survivors, experts, and architectural design, leading to new frameworks for practice and forms of architecture. The author, a previous winner of the Sargent Award for Excellence in Drawing in the 2019 President's Medals, was tutored by Simon Withers, and his name is Thomas Faulkner. The third and final commendation in the dissertation medal category this year goes to Beyond Humanitarianism, from states of violence to futures of care in northern France. This dissertation makes the case for the urgent adoption of an ethic of universal care in response to the current migrant humanitarian crisis unfolding at the Anglo-French border. It draws primarily from 3 months of volunteer experience and situated research in northern France, relying on sensory ethnography and participatory methods. Building on existing volunteer migrant solidarity practices and literatures on ethical care, the dissertation speculates on how an urban strategy based on universal care and a politics of presence could enable Calais to recover from decades of urban decline and embrace its inevitable role as a transit point for migrants. The author was tutored by Arit Katz, Ulrike Gittner, and Ingrid Schroeder at the University of Cambridge, and his name is Kieran Kaming Tam. And now to the winner of the 2022 Dissertation Medal. Nominated by the Bartlett School of Architecture, where it was tutored by Tanya Sengupta, this year's Dissertation Medal is awarded to past, present, and post-tropicality, viewing Singapore through an infrastructural field. The dissertation articulates a highly original form of inquiry, bringing together two pressing issues of our times: ecological knowledge and practice on the one hand, and colonialism and its continuing legacies on the other. Furthermore, it connects these with the emerging field of infrastructure studies. Focusing on Singapore, the work explores the mutual formations of the concept of tropicality and modern infrastructure through key historical moments. Colonial construction by the West of non-Western tropical lands as inhospitable geoclimatic territories requiring rational ordering. Independent Singapore's pursuit of a nationalist architectural modernity to alleviate undeveloped tropical conditions, and the contemporary neoliberal state's desire for an aestheticized tropical city of excellence. But the project's heart is what the author seeks in the crevices of these dominant paradigms. Ordinary people's everyday relationship with tropical nature, figured through smaller scale, socio-natural, spatial practices or infrastructures. The author is no stranger to this stage, having won the RIBA Bronze Medal, the RIBA Award for Sustainable Design at Part 1, and the SOM Foundation Fellowship in 2019. We're delighted that she travelled all the way from her home country of Singapore to be with us tonight. So please join me in welcoming to the stage the winner of the 2022 RIBA Dissertation Medal, Annabelle Tan.
Firstly, thank you to the RIBA for this amazing award, and thank you to the Bartlett for nominating me in the first place amongst all of the amazing work at the Bartlett. And this is a very personal piece of research, so this recognition means a lot to me as a young architect. And thank you to my mother and my grandmother, who are the main protagonists, actually, in this piece of research, and in my life, obviously. And most importantly, thank you so much to my amazing and wonderful thesis supervisor, Dr. Tanya Semgupta, for her never-ending guidance, support, and encouragement inside and outside of school. Thank you so much.
Congratulations to Annabelle and to the three commended students. We now move to announcing the winners in the Bronze Medal category for the Best Design Project produced by a student or group of students enrolled in an RIBA Part 1 course anywhere in the world. This year, the judging panel, chaired by Tracy Meller, included Victoria Farrow, course leader for the BA Architecture at Birmingham City University, Adam Nathaniel Furman, artist and designer, and winner of a commendation in the Bronze Medal category in the 2005 RIBA President's Medals, Smith Mordak, Director of Sustainability and Physics at Bureau Happold, Stephen Slaughter, Chair of Undergraduate Architecture at the Pratt Institute in New York, and Ramsey Yassa, Founding Director at Numa Studio. These judges assessed 140 entries, the highest number ever in the history of the RIBA Bronze Medal, and awarded 1 medal, 1 high commendation, and 2 commendations. To present them together with Smith, I'd like to invite to the stage one of the members of the judging panel, Smith Mordak. The first commendation in this category goes to the project Symbiosis. This project was nominated by the University of Melbourne, Australia, where it was supervised by Georgi Stojanovic and Mark Ng. Against a context of Western modes of habitation imposed by European settlers on Aboriginal lands, the project draws from Indigenous teachings of equality between mankind and nature to design a neighbourhood. It achieves this by reawakening the value of traditional knowledge to offer comfortable, sustainable, and well-aged housing. The concept of symbiosis manifests itself in two typologies, apartment and townhouse, to provide homes for humans and nature, blurring the boundaries between them. Ultimately, the neighbourhood encapsulates symbiotic relationships across two dimensions: space, between humans and nature, and time, celebrating Indigenous history in the context of post-colonialism and ongoing globalisation. We're delighted that the author of this project was able to travel so far to join us this evening. Please join me in welcoming to the stage the author of the first commendation in the 2022 RIBA Bronze Medal category, Chong K. Lam. The second commendation in the bronze medal category goes to a design project supervised by Rachel Hallett and Jamie Henry at Edinburgh School of Architecture and Landscape Architecture that has the title A Scarcity of Attention, Plans for 111 to 115 Constitution Street. Motivated by a desire to consider how we care for our urban environment and current issues of food security, material waste, and social justice, this project proposes a modest community building which is ideated as an urban croft. The title is twofold. On one hand, it is an observation of a societal-wide state of distraction which has contributed to the rise of such issues. On the other, rhetorical, for the work to propose these suggestions is anything but. Through reading and reaction to the social and physical environment of the project situation in Leith, Edinburgh, the proposal, much like the typology of the rural croft, creates a framework for caring for the environment, which extends beyond the bounds of the buildings and their courtyard, the crofters' dwelling and the outhouses, into the field, the community. The author of the second bronze medal commendation is Felix Wilson. The judging panel of the bronze medal singled out one of the entries for its mature analysis of civic architecture, design clarity throughout, and exceptional handling of the brief by awarding it a high commendation. Common Ground Leith takes as its site the new Kirkgate development in Edinburgh's harbour neighbourhood, Leith, a public housing estate where hostile landscaping and an inadequate provision of shared amenities resulted in a lack of agency and ownership for the residents. The proposal introduces a town hall to the fragmented site, with a programme intersecting the local government and grassroots movements. The intervention aims to tie together physically and socially the disjointed parts of Leith, transforming the now desolate territory around Kirkgate into a thriving civic space. Viewing functional public space as an essential design component, the proposal considers its preservation beyond the lifespan of the town hall itself by designing it as a system of layers, each with a different rate of change, which may be reconfigured or dismantled throughout the building's lifespan. Again, nominated by the Edinburgh School of Architecture and Landscape Architecture and tutored by Kieran Hawkins and Nikki Thompson, the winner of the High Commendation is Inka Eismar. And now the winner of the bronze medal. The best design project produced by a student enrolled in an RIBA Part 1 course or equivalent anywhere in the world is called Out of the Closet into the Garden. The project reimagines the space in between two rows of terraced houses as an almshouse for queer elders. Set in the heart of a suburb in Harlow, a town whose hospital only 2 years ago labelled being queer a mental illness, it transforms private back gardens into a shared courtyard garden to make an enclosed yet permeable block where social rules are constantly reinvented. An undulating and continuous timber portico surrounds the interior courtyard. This new space spaces the shared garden whilst negotiating privacy and proximity amongst residents. The result is a deeply personal, emotional project that also serves as both a protest and a provocation within and against a system of architectural education and practice that excludes queer theory and queer practices. It challenges and demands more from architects to get to know, understand, and respect the individuals and communities they serve. The project was nominated by the University of Cambridge, where it was supervised by Elena Palacios-Caral, Lola Lozano-Lara, and Samuel Nelson. The author and winner of the 2022 RIBA Bronze Medal is Mary Holmes.
I guess, to speak candidly, this project exists. It won this award because, well, very much because it was fought for. The design of queer spaces, the expression and representation of queer sexualities, intimacies, and desires has been implicitly and explicitly forbidden in architecture schools for almost as long as they have existed. It's now beginning to be possible, but every project is still very much a fight and must be fought for by so many. My work is no exception. It was fought for by my tutors week in and week out. They encouraged me and defended my work when I could not. It was fought for by a beautiful collection of friends who I am so lucky to have. Their joy, love, support, music, laughter, everything held space for this project to exist. It was fought for by some critics, examiners, and judges, and highly questioned by others. I think it fought through me to exist, and in doing so, it taught me how to fight, how to speak and be heard. But it should not have to be a fight with stagnant architectural standards, confused academics, and uncertain institutions. I am immensely grateful for the recognition this award gives to my work, and that, like it, it fills me with hope. I hope it will encourage and provide reassurance to those currently doing projects like this. I hope it will smooth the path a little bit for them, make the fight slightly less exhausting at times. I hope it will provoke contradiction and, I guess, reflection. I hope it will inspire the articulation of alternative imaginations. After all, this project is quite simply my dream. It's my imaginary. It is an immensely personal and intimate piece of design. It is a space I would love to exist within, to be held by. But it is just my imagination. I am one among many. And I know there is so much more of this to come. I can't wait to see it. I have one special thanks, and it's to Precious Ndikuba. Hopefully she's somewhere in this room. I would not be here without her love, friendship, joy, everything. She is wonderful. Her grace, compassion, and talent are unmatched. Thank you for being my friend.
Mary, thank you for that. Before we announce the winner of the silver medal, we will present the Sargent Awards for Excellence in Drawing and the RIBA Awards for Sustainable Design. To present these awards with Simon, I'd like to call to the stage one of the members of this year's silver medal judging panel, Ken Okonkwo. The Sargent Awards are presented annually in memory of the late architect and Royal Academy surveyor Dennis Sargent, one of the founding members of the 1981 RIBA Student Prizes group. This year, the Sargent Award for Excellence in Drawing at Part 1 is presented to the project Leo Kiskora Hadiski, a place to assemble and learn. This is a project that evolved through a process of documentation, characterization, casting, and craft work to develop an understanding of the urban and social context. This has informed the brief and the architectural response for a museum for mining, supplemented by a foundry, learning spaces, maker studios, and the new assembly space in Camborne within the UNESCO Cornish Mining World Heritage Site. The museum is inspired by the evocation and sensory qualities of Cornwall's redundant mines, reflecting Cornwall's legacy through tin, copper, and bronze, and is a mnemonic for the cultural identity links to and environmental impacts of mining. The project was nominated by Falmouth University, where it was supervised by Tanya Griffiths, and the author is Nathan Tipping Stevenson. At Part 2, the Sargent Award goes to the design project Nirvana. The project emerges from a written research thesis into the Hishras of India, a community in Kuvagam in the Tamil Nadu region of northeastern India, defined as an alternative gender role, neither man nor woman. Pre-colonial India saw religious reverence for the Hishras, whereas colonial India saw their attempted extinction, a move that encouraged anti-Hishra sentiments throughout the Indian subcontinent that lasted into the post-colonial era. Despite the attempted extirpation of their identity and culture, one of their most fundamental religious practices survived, the Kuvagam festival. Every year for 16 days, the Hishras gather in a small village in Tamil Nadu to celebrate and reenact a queer story from the ancient Hindu epic, the Mahabharata. However, the lack of infrastructure has forced them to perform in inadequate spaces, such as murky rice fields. As a response to their needs, this project proposes a sympathetic spatial intervention, a series of temporary pavilions built using vernacular construction methods, materials, and plastic festival waste. The project was nominated by the Manchester School of Architecture, where it was tutored by Helen Eibel. And the author and winner of the Sargent Award at Part 2 is Nadir Qasim Mahmood. The RIBA Awards for Sustainable Design have been presented as part of the President's Medals for the past 4 years to recognise the importance of climate action in the development of architectural design proposals. At Part 1, the award for Sustainable Design goes to a project that has already received an award this evening, Common Ground Leith, nominated by the Edinburgh School of Architecture and Landscape Design and Landscape Architecture. Please join me in welcoming to the stage the project's author for the second time this evening, Inka Eismar. The Award for Sustainable Design at Part 2 goes to the project A Journey Through Past, Present and Post-Tropicality. The project is an investigation into notions of tropicality in the context of Singapore. Historically, concepts of nature, comfort, civil behaviour and progress have been shaped by depoliticised agendas grouped under the umbrella of tropicality. Framing tropicality in terms of scarcity and affordances, the project unmakes colonial vestiges of tropical success that linger in our infrastructure and remakes a landscape of affordances. Tangible and intangible resources of food, water, energy, land, material, labour, biodiversity and civic space are explored to divulge the multifarious and sometimes insidious aspects of tropicality. Spanning 4.2 kilometres, the scheme is a socio-ecological continuum linking a threatened forest to a national nature reserve. Along its length, social and physical constructs of scarcity are dissected, leaving behind a new imaginary towards productive and performative dwelling practices that synthesise nature and culture. The entry was nominated by the Bartlett School of Architecture, where it was supervised by Laura Allen and Mark Smout. And the author for the second time on the stage this evening is Annabelle Tan. Congratulations to the winners of the Sargent Awards and the Awards for Sustainable Design. And now the last award of the evening, the RIBA Silver Medal for the Best Design Project produced by a student enrolled in an RIBA Part 2 course or equivalent anywhere in the world. The RIBA Silver Medal judging panel was chaired by Tracy Miller and included Anupama Kundu, founding director of Anupama Kundu Architects, professor at the Potsdam School of Architecture in Germany, and head of urban design at Auroville, India. Nicholas Lobo-Brennan, co-founder of Apparata Architects, associate professor of tectonics at Kingston University, and winner of a commendation in the bronze medal category in the 2005 RIBA President's Medals. Thandi Lewinson, senior tutor of architecture at the Royal College of Art. Ken Okonkwo, associate director at Hayworth Tompkins Architects. And Sophie Pelsmakers, associate professor at the Faculty of Built Environment of Tampere University in Finland. In the silver medal category, the judging panel awarded 3 commendations in addition to the medal. To present these with Simon, I'd like to invite back to the stage the chair of the bronze and silver medal judging panels, Tracy Miller. The first commendation in the silver medal category goes to Spolia Tectonic. The project investigates how reuse can prevent the exploitation of declining resources to counteract extractive practices in construction, reduce waste production and carbon emissions. Through the adoption of spolia, the ancient practice of material reuse, the project opens up new possible implications for a cultural and architectonic expression based on the reuse of historical material. Looking at cities as material banks of the future, the project envisions a closed-loop construction industry that counters current material extraction and manufacturing standards. In addition, the project proposes 2 conditions for the reuse of construction materials today. The first, consisting of a series of clear actions to conduct the end-of-life and whole life cycle assessments of buildings. And the second is the design of a headquarters and physical infrastructure that enables the reuse of construction materials and building components. The commended entry was nominated by the Royal College of Art, where it was tutored by Amin Taha, Peter Ray, and Jason Coe. Its author is Dario Biscaro. The second commendation goes to a project that has already received an award this evening, Nirvana, nominated by the Manchester School of Architecture. Please join me in welcoming to the stage the project's author for the second time this evening, Nadir Kasim Mahmood. The third and final commendation in the silver medal category goes to the entry, A Campus for Flower Between Horizontal and Vertical. The proposed study mediates between the vertical city and horizontal landscape through a campus for flower in Bromley by Bow, where existing buildings made from different artefacts are carefully adapted and reused, exploring the notion of building less. The forms of the proposals enjoy dialogues between horizontal and vertical, using the diagonal as a repeated expression. Flour is a main cooking ingredient, and its process and production are being relocated further from the consumer, meaning its carbon footprint is extremely high. The campus extracts grain from growing plots up the River Lee, reinstating the river as a main transport route and reducing heavy road usage. Grains are stored, processed into flour, and distributed across London. The public can visit, buy, and learn about flour milling processes with access to baking classes and spaces between, acting as city playgrounds for events and markets. The project was nominated by London Metropolitan University, where it was supervised by Takiro Shimazaki, Paolo Pisano, and Karabo Turner. The author and winner of this commendation is Oliver Reynolds. Before we present the final award of the evening, the RIBA Silver Medal, I feel that I must introduce you to the architecture student who has single-handedly won the most awards in the history of the Institute. In 2019, she received the RIBA Bronze Medal for Wetland Frontier, a design project that also made her the winner in the same year of the RIBA Award for Sustainable Design at Part 1 and of the SOM Foundation Fellowship, the UK Award. As the student graduating with the best results from the Part 1 at the Bartlett School of Architecture, she was also the winner of the 2019 Donaldson Medal, historically awarded by the RIBA. In 2021, she won the first prize in the student category of the RIBA Journals Eyeline competition for the entry The River, Restoration and Its Rituals. This year, she was nominated for the Dissertation Medal, which she won, with Past, Present and Post-Tropicality, viewing Singapore through an infrastructural field. And she also won the RIBA Award for Sustainable Design at Part 2. As if winning these 7 top awards was not enough, I'm losing count. This evening, she becomes the first student in the 186 years of the President's Medals to ever win the 3 top awards, the Dissertation, the Bronze, and the Silver Medals. Please join me in welcoming to the stage the winner of the 2022 RIBA Silver Medal for a journey through past, present, and post-tropicality, nominated by the Bartlett School of Architecture, Annabelle Tan.
Obviously, thank you again to the RIBA and to the judging panel for these amazing awards and the Bartlett for the nomination. I mean, it's very hard to believe that one person should deserve all of this recognition as a single individual, but I guess all I can do is promise to work hard to earn this recognition and hope that the rest of my career will live up to all of these medals. And obviously a big thank you to my wonderful and inspiring, dedicated tutors, Professors Mark Smout and Laura Allen, who are here today. Their teaching over the past 2 years have been crucial, not just for the project, but for me as an architect, and I'm very grateful to have them for the past 2 years. And I'd like to share this moment with all of my amazingly talented and passionate peers at the Bartlett, all of my friends that I've met over the past 5 years in the school. I hope that after a very hard year that the school has been through, that we can all celebrate for at least tonight. Thank you.
Thank you all so much for joining us this evening. Congratulations to all of our winners, and we look forward to following your careers with great interest. I'd like to just take a moment to express my gratitude to the RIBA members of staff who've worked so hard for months to make these awards happen. These awards cross over so many different departments of the institution, including facilities, events, press, marketing, and awards. Saul from the awards team has been working with us for the last few months, and Saul, thank you for your support. But in particular, I'd like to thank my amazing team in education and learning. But tonight, specifically, John Paul Ninnis and Gillian Harrison, whose passion to support and promote architecture students on behalf of the RIBA comes through in all that they do. We owe a huge debt of thanks to the judges and chairs for giving up their time and expertise to select the winners, and to all students and tutors whose hard work and devotion continues to make the RIBA President's Medals a celebration of excellence recognised across the world. Simon.
Just to say, wonderful evening to have you all here. Extraordinary work, inspiration, speeches, passion, commitment, intelligence. So congratulations to all who were nominated, to all who completed their Part 1 and their Part 2 this year. But most importantly, you've done lots of clapping and listened to lots of speeches, so let's end now. You please go upstairs, look at the exhibition on the second floor, and as the last multi-medaling winner said, have a great celebration tonight, enjoy a drink, and welcome to the future. Thank you all very much indeed.